You're listening to The Red Hour, a Star Trek podcast with Rusi Often Wrong Kapadia
and Colin Harcourt Fenton Mudd Campbell.
We are live.
Oh, shit. Classic. You haven't done your homework feeling. Am I right? No? Okay. Welcome, Rusi.
Yes, Campbell. So this is the wrap up of TOS. Why we felt we should do a podcast and talk about it, and concluding thoughts on the series, I guess.
And truly, I think figuring out what our expectations were going in, because I think that whole process changed quite a lot, and I think our awareness of ourselves changed, and I think we became deeper, much richer people from having. No,
I'm not.
Okay.
I can't back that kind of sentiment. But no, I think it was good to get our thoughts and our feelings collected together, and crystallize sort of what it is about Star Trek that makes it so good, and is
despite the fact that in so many of the instances I find we have the tendency to like the same things, but for completely different reasons, and in some cases, completely opposite for logically completely different reasons.
Yeah.
But let's see. So overall, do you have any? I mean, what? Can you tell me if anything stood out on this rewatch of Trek? Basically, that something new that you experienced, something new that you maybe noticed about it, or surely it's like because of the additional level of detail we've been.
Yeah. I mean, definitely from your little IMDb. Research. I've gotten a bit more context and richness behind the episodes. It makes them a bit more fun to watch when you know some of those.
Some of the crazy or stupid backstory. Yeah.
Yeah. No. I mean, it was just good to argue my points and try to convince you of what had merit and what did not.
Interesting, but I like it how you definitely phrase it in like a combative process of trying to win someone over. At least about, I mean, in terms of like your own opinions being right about like what is good and why, is that what you want to argue?
Yeah, I mean, like obviously I disagree with you most of the time about most things. But yeah, I feel I guess just in general that there's an underappreciation obviously for Star Trek. So
it seems weird for us to say. I mean, like as saturated with it as we were, but I guess it's weird to think that isn't necessarily entirely common. But yeah, good point.
Yeah, and then part of it is like tribalism. Like it's Star Trek has like a very special cultural place, and so yeah, like I feel like even like the looking at aside from how whether it's a good show, whether it's well written, acted, and all that stuff, it's like I think it's like important to visit and to talk about it, just because it's sort of like such a central part to our tribe, if you will, of just like uber nerds. It's like
no, and it's weird. I completely agree with that sentiment and the way you worded it. It's perfect.
It's like the fact that like everyone who's like us has these certain cultural touchstones or whatever.
Well, I hesitate, as you know. I always get worried when you say we.
When I say we,
but
I know.
But I mean, it's true. There are a lot, but and not always. I mean, it's always a generalization, and the reason why people gravitate towards Trek kind of varies from individual. And I think you'd be surprised the reasons why some people like the things they do. We can't take that for granted, but
yes, it's basically like just going over our upbringing, and deciding what was good and why was it good.
Exactly.
And why it should be passed down to like future generations. When you're raising
again, weird. We're in sync.
Yeah, that's what you're thinking. And so, for us, it was, Star Trek predominantly, but then there's like all the other things that, everybody touches on: Monty Python, Doctor Who, British comedy more generally, stuff like that.
It's true, and I can't. I don't know why that is. Do you know why that is? Why there is that commonality, that assumed commonality of sort of weird, geek cultural touchstones that, like, again, well, not universal, because I can't. I wasn't super indoctrinated into the stuff I was. I just fell into it, and just found it also populated with like similar nerds, and like
yeah, well, it sort of goes with my theory that, like, well, obviously because I'm going to speak it. That basically there's like a very small, number of like human personality types, and so like there's like
but what does that represent? I mean in my case, I know why I was into Trek, and I know why probably, but it's like, but like you said, beyond a cultural touchstone, for me there's also the ideological part, and you personally don't hold truck with that.
No, I don't agree with, like, people like to say, that Gene Roddenberry had a vision and it was like a positive.
No, I'm not talking about that. I mean, because that stuff. Okay, maybe it's a petty semantic difference. I separate like whatever mythos and PR campaign associated with Gene Roddenberry. You could say whatever you wanted to about that guy, but I'm not going to say irrespective of him, but whatever. It's like he definitely contributed to it. But for whatever reason, there's this thing now, and it's called Star Trek, and I do hold it up in high reverence. But I want to make a hard line between like, but I don't want to, whatever, not to just in an elitist fashion leave Roddenberry out of it. But I'm sorry, but you can't deny that the ideological impact of Star Trek goes further and beyond him, because it's about a collectivist experience. It's about more than one individual. It's about a whole bunch of people coming together and standing for the best of us.
No, I'm denying it. So,
my God.
Okay, so check it out. Like, so I mean, you can get sort of like on your high horse and be like, oh, Star Wars was just like a cool fucking like laser fight. Whereas Star Trek had like a real.
To me, it's not about denigrating other things. It's about showing the unique quality that so far, I'm sorry, only Star Trek has, which is to present a kind of simple, intellectual, ideological framework for going forward as a species peacefully.
Yeah, no.
And if that's all it is, fine.
It has that element, but I think it is like way overstated, and like.
But like, I mean, I can't argue. I mean, if that's your opinion, but it's to me, but for me, that's the juice. All the seduction, all the space fights, all the phasers. To me, that's like a distant second to like the idea of just like presenting some kind of thing that magical transporters and warp travel aside, you can use as some kind of ideological principle going forward, and be proud of that, because as long as you would adhere to a certain set of values, it's not nothing. It's not arbitrary. It's a well-crafted secular set of ideas, not dependent on any kind of like external religious influence. And it's just an idea of like how to be decent beings moving forward into the future, And I think humanity needs that.
Okay, fine. I will grant that aspect of Star Trek gave it legs and made it a much more long-standing sort of show and idea that they could sort of like run with. But I don't know that is what drew us in.
Whoa! Careful with your us, but whatever.
Well, I'm going to speak as though I am part of a collective that is.
That's fine. Just it's not for me.
No, but I mean, so I would say like TNG, that was like a legit sort of trying to placate an audience who like to think of themselves as morally elevated or something like that.
I don't believe that's the case at all. I think it had elements that pertain to and related to that, but I don't think it held itself up in some kind of like. I think the whole point is of Star Trek was, I mean, that's not to say it didn't ever include particularly heavy-handed, maybe even preachy times where it did come down hard on one type of ideological message, like don't do drugs or whatever, or it's okay if your parents have sex. with other people. But like, but for the most part, it was outside of that, right? It was like saying, it was presenting moral problems and showing how they resolved it, and dealing with that gray area in between the binaries of good and evil and what to do.
Exactly. No, it had like a format which was like just excellent and new, exploring everything from a moral vantage point, and also just like this particular future vision of, things working out and you being invested in things working out. Which, like, so for instance, Battlestar Galactica or Star Wars or Doctor Who or what are these things, whatever you.
Those are all great shows, but none of them.
But Star Trek, by giving itself that sort of like idea of exploring morality, and having a positive vision.
It's just that you can be moral. If that's all, you can be moral.
Yes.
That's the message.
Like I would just say, like, it's like a novel format that has like a lot of depth, and you can do a lot of fun stuff with it. The same way you can do a lot of stuff with quantum.
But you don't want any you don't want any kind of moral guilt or sort of like personal relativism attached to that might, like, deprive you of some aspect of your enjoyment. You don't want it to be bogged down in like the idea
I just don't like the everybody jerking themselves off saying that, like, So
this is just your fear of like intellectualism and snobbery. You don't want to even like be perceived at a distance of like having like a developed thought, in case like someone else like sees you in the schoolyard and tells it. He's like, Mrs. McGibbons, like, fucking, I saw Rusey. He was talking about fucking philosophy over there, and then she's gonna call your mom and it's gonna be over.
Campbell, it's like Law and Order. Like, Law and Order is like endless. They had like whatever it was, like 15 seasons of one type, and then they had all the things that followed. It was endless in the kind of the way that like Star Trek is had such a long.
It's an idea that people will always try and milk for its properties.
It's a format.
It's always going to be that. Yeah, no denying.
Format through which you can tell amazing stories, and that is what makes it so fucking long lasting. Anyway, so yes, I mean, like you get molded by the things that are in the show, and the show does have like messages.
I mean, one would hope that is the process, but not in your case. It seems you like somehow avoided all that indoctrination entirely. You are in many ways the Khan Singh of Star Trek in terms of like rejecting those values.
No, I don't reject those values, but like TNG was the only one that I think really like sort of dug deep on it being about Gene Roddenberry's vision.
No, but again, I understand what you're trying to say, but is it okay if I argue just like that the way you word it?
Even like TOS, like it didn't, like it loosely followed that, but it was mostly about finding good stories, and basically like teaching us about humanity.
And that's true, but I also think the idea got progressed, and regardless of how far they wanted to take any one specific thing, as of TOS, this is what I'm talking about. It builds momentum, and it's more than any one of the shows, and for that reason, it even encompasses like the shittier shows that you don't even want to have anything to do with that. Like, it's like, but that's the thing. It's a progressive kind of collective thing that is like the gestalt of all these shows, built up together, and you have to see them as a wide context, and you have to see the arguments they're trying to make. That like honestly, there is a difficulty in achieving utopia. And sure, for the sake of like viewers who want to see exciting futuristic stuff blow up, there was like obviously intergalactic wars. But beyond that, it was always trying to say, hey, look at a possible future where humanity isn't destroying themselves. That's as simple as I can put it.
Yes,
and it's one of few utopian visions that I can see that is sustainable on that basis, because it just shows humanity striving up to conquer its own damage, its own ills. Of its own sort of, moral bootstraps, as it were, as opposed to relying on some kind of external factor like aliens. Okay, no, it did kind of do that. Or nuclear war. All right, I did that too. Well, anyway, you know what I'm saying. It's so the point is, it presents us a way going forward, and I think it's important. And it's not perfect. It's flawed, but it's the best model I've seen presented in that context. And that's all I want to say.
Hang on, just a quick fun, like, what other models do we have?
Well, I mean, exactly. I haven't ever. I've seen.
There's the Demolition Man Utopia.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good. Yeah,
what other utopias are there?
In terms of obviously flawed utopias, I feel like the Demolition Man one would be pretty workable as long as they found out a way to equally distribute the food and stop people from having to live in the sewers with hockey gear.
Right. Yeah, and figure out how to use the 3 seasons.
yeah, like is
And
there
the three
any
shells.
other-
I figured them out, by the way.
No.
Yeah, no, actually,
That's-
that's a good question, Pete.
But
Like,
that's
is
a
there-
story for another time.
Is there any other like a sci-fi show that like showed like
We've
a
seen
positive
stuff,
vision
but we-
of the
we've
future,
seen-
Utopia
and that
is
was-
not a thing that comes up a lot. Like let's
No, but
Unless it's flawed utopia. Unless it's like
Utopia is like that is like that is death to an actual story writer. If you just tell people, yeah, it's a place where people go and they just hang out.
yeah, but
Well,
you could
I
be
mean-
trying to get to a utopia, for example.
yeah, that's
That
my
would
favorite
be
part of the
a fun
story.
thing,
Yeah.
right?
And the many bodies that pile the way. I like Zardoz is a good example of utopian posthumanism. I mean, sure, there was a slave class, but I mean, within that infrastructure, you and the floating godheads. Okay, maybe it's just for aesthetic
What
reasons.
about
I don't think Zardoz is a positive model for how you are you Rusi? Are you going to shake your head and
What?
still
What
tell
about
me
the
to my
lo-
face that you've never seen Zardoz?
What about the
Camel,
Logan Run?
I've seen minutes of
utopia?
it at your house.
Oh my God, Rusi! Ah.
The Logan Run
We can't be
utopia.
friends
How about
unless you
that?
watch that. That's another good example of super flawed utopia. I would have been into that because it fed in nicely to my thing of dying by the age of 30. So it's like up until that point, I would have been very pro Logan's Run. Especially, come
And then
on,
I turned
I wasn't getting a
to-
lot of action,
And much
right?
like the characters
Up
in
until
the
that,
show.
it was like the West Island was not, a hot happening scene. There was no, wall to wall, hot and cold running, magic sex teleportation. I mean. Not that if there was, I didn't know about it. Am I wrong? There was we had a place called Clyde's. It wasn't exactly magical sex teleportation, but
Okay, wait, hold on. Let's get back to topic.
Yeah.
Anyway, Phil, you bring up a good
Dystopias.
point. I don't think there is another version of sci-fi that shows like a positive.
it shows
vision of the future.
a model of stuff working.
That shows a positive vision of the future that is like worth watching because it would be dull as fuck unless like there's so few ways to do it other than the way Star Trek does it.
And that's
Because Star Trek is basically, you know what? Actually, Roddenberry did do another show right after Star Trek because, like,
and are you going to claim to have not seen that either?
Yeah, I did not see it. I saw one episode of it, and maybe there was only one episode. I can't remember.
There was quite a few series that was like only one
So there was
episode.
there was one where it was. I only saw bits of it, but I think
Was it the
what
John
was-
Saxon one or the other
it was,
one?
It was like the future.
That's not
where there
narrowing
had
it
been some
down.
sort of like apocalypse, and humanity had like evolved to a certain point.
Again, that's not narrowing it down.
and they had developed these like underground like tubes.
Yeah, again, not narrowing it down. Narrowing it down a little bit.
And I noticed they also had the same theme. You know when you're doing
When you're doing banana. Yeah.
when you're doing the mind meld. They had the exact same theme. I remember from one scene, and somebody was doing something like a mind meld.
So Planet Earth was one, and Genesis 2 was another, and they were both kind of
anyway, like the premise of the show was
Planet Earth. Was
on the
one.
surface there were a lot of people who were like retrograde,
Fucked up.
Society, fucked up, and these people who
They're real
still
fucked up, man.
still had some memory of the way an advanced society were. They would sort of go around underground in these like subways and sort of appear on the surface and try and help whatever the society.
Yeah,
get
that's a
back.
solid idea. I mean,
But
expensive
that's-
to shoot, but yeah, that was fucking decent.
But that is similar. That is similar in that it's sort of like humanity is basically perfect, and the conflict and the interesting parts of the show come from humanity trying to spread that perfection to like others.
Shit.
So-
Did we already have the conversation about Star Lost? Did I tell you about Star Lost yet?
No.
Okay, we'll save that for later.
Okay, fine.
Uh,
But anyway, so
sorry.
anyway, Phil brings up a good point that there's just not very many places you can go for this specific like theme, and it's just an awesome fucking theme. And I agree with you, Campbell. Now, based on the length of your argument, that
I mean, it's not as long as the first time it's come up, but I
we
appreciate it.
were, we were drawn in to a certain degree just by like the fact that it was like optimistic.
And
Yeah.
it's and I don't mean to say
Yeah.
I don't mean to use a big broad we in that statement because I know I'm not I don't know I know some people have the same appreciation for it that I do, but at least for me specifically, it's like it's important that while not the best as we've talked about, it's like it's it's I can't point easily to a number two that's serviceable as like a roadmap going forward. It's like at least and here's the thing, I think like good philosophy, it doesn't include the answers to your problems, but it includes a framework with which to deal with them. And I think that's how you should perceive Star Trek. Just like as a framework going forward
I don't think
that
philosophy
is to be
is
refined.
about, fixing your problems in any way.
I mean, there's personal problems and there's the problems that the world as a whole faces, and those are the problems. Well, and you can parse the two, but to me, the way Star Trek deals with the kinds of big problems that you can only get if you have a nice, cohesive, single-minded collective communism.
Okay, fine. Anyway.
Oh my god.
So-
How many
so-
examples of failed communism do we need on the planet before you get off that dead horse?
All you need is one working one.
Well, yeah.
But Campbell, part of my hesitation to back your theory that it was about the idealism that makes Star Trek so worthwhile and drew everybody in. Part of my dislike for that is that I never felt the same draw from TNG as from TOS.
But you also never got into. Okay.
No, what do you mean I never got into it? Fuck, I've watched every goddamn TNG episode multiple times.
I know, but you never talk about it, and it's just you always talk about it with such obvious disdain.
Some of my best friends are into TNG. Campbell, no, I was on board. I was excited by TNG at the time, and I still love many episodes.
Rusey, we're gonna get you excited for TNG again. That's
no,
the new
I watched.
I will chain you to a pipe in the crawl space. Sorry.
No, but anyway, so I'm just saying that to isolate TOS as having certain things that were formative for me that I thought were unique to the original series. Anyway, that's why I thought it was worthwhile to sort of go through the episodes and try to emphasize and explain that. But yeah, basically, I was raised on Star Trek and I grew up Star Trek, and I think other people should be raised on Star Trek and grow up Star Trek.
I disturbingly agree with Rusey, and we were also talking about this recently. The difficulty in passing on Star Trek to your children.
Yeah.
How do you do it?
Well, yes. Manu and I have had the conversation, and he's basically said that he's failed because Manu's thing was
he gave up too easy.
Manu's thing was to sort of try episodes here and there at a young age and just see which one the kids liked. And basically, the kids could take it or leave it. They had essentially no interest in it. My theory, which I only practiced for a couple of years, around early years, was just for it to always be in the background. For me and Tuffy, anytime he was with me and Tuffy, for us, there'll always be a Star Trek episode in the background. So it became part of
background noise.
Yeah. And then further, I thought condition him so that he thought this is a fun time to spend with my dad. My dad would be pleased if I watch this. Some sort of manipulation that way. But it never fully worked out because. Basically, because Tuffy's not here anymore, so I don't have that reinforcement. I think you got to reinforce.
So, but it was only you can only do that.
That happened to none of us, though, right?
But for all of us, we had no other choice but to watch Star Trek. For me, I was 7. Let's see, because we've been probably 6 or 7 when I started watching Star Trek. And it was on at a specific time on CBC.
Yeah, it had a good time slot.
Yeah, and that's basically why I watched it.
Yeah.
At least I used to listen to it on the radio.
Did you?
You remember when at one point the CBC station in Montreal also broadcast their television station on the radio?
Yeah. I do actually. I do. Yeah, you're right.
I don't know why, but yeah, it was fun. It was fun to listen to Star Trek.
Yeah, I can see that. Anyway, so for me, I watched it because that was what was available, and of the things available, it was the most attractive for young kids. So so it's very hard to get new generations into it because there's an infinite amount of material that's available and there's no waiting. So there has to be some trickery involved.
But okay, it's funny. I was advocating trickery just mere 12 hours ago, but because now it's coming from you, I'm like, you idiot! It'll never work. I'm so changeable. No, but yeah, I if not trickery, okay, I guess I'll make a difference between direct trickery, i.e., lying, and just being sneaky. How about that? Sneakiness, and just have it on in a subliminal fashion, and if it ever comes up, just brush it aside, try and definitely oh, you won't be interested in that, and do that kind of thing.
Have it playing in his room at night when he's trying to sleep.
Or I mean, But in truth, I probably would have done what you did. But it'll either take or it won't, and he's gone.
No, Campbell. There's no giving up. Like you keep trying, but
Okay, all right. I'm glad because
All right.
and again, we have to convince Manu to
So-
keep up the fight.
We have sort of 6 broad topics we're going to cover quickly. And by quickly, I mean 10 to 15 minutes each one, except they'll
All right,
actually
that's good.
meld into
Yeah,
each
good.
one, and it'll
Upper
end up
ceiling.
being who knows. But our 6 topics are going to be the technology. Well, we're talking about progressive values, I suppose, because the show is famous for being, progressive of its time. The different
Giving it a
aliens
shot, yeah.
they envision and what we love about them and hate about them. The different visions of the future and the, I guess we're going to talk a little bit about how some of them conflict with each other and whatnot. And then finally, the most important aspects of this TV show, we're going to have the top 5 Spock moments and top 5 Kirk moments for the entire show. So let's start off with technology.
Christ.
With Campbell.
All right, so just going through it by season, I guess the one that stands out is like I
We
guess
can talk about it in general.
what better
Like,
technology.
This is the beginning of all Trek, right? All warp drive, transporters, everything comes from this TV show.
Yeah, and riddled as it is with mild inconsequential continuity errors, and I like, and it's like the baseline that they ended up establishing. But for me, what I think is like I like a lot of the I want to say the basic low-hanging fruit that they tackled. A lot of like ideas, that were endemic of the time, of like fear of automation in computers and losing your job to like, a pencil sharpener. That's not okay. Well, whatever.
That's still,
And,
that fear has not gone away.
And I like how they weren't. I like how they took a shot. I think in a lot of cases their take was like usually aired on the side of like kind of hysteria. Like they really thought they tried to find like the worst possible thing that could happen if you put futuristic scenario A in place or whatever. But in some cases I thought they were a little bit fear mongery. But at the same token, the flip side of that is as I do like the technology that the sort of higher level technology, the idea maybe the somewhat the pseudo magical stuff when you're like think of what it would be like if we had the power of the gods, like encountering the Guardian of Forever, and having that kind of portal to anywhere and any when, and it's obviously moral ramifications, but to me I like the idea from a mechanistic point of view, because to me that would be the hardest thing technically to pull off would be just like that kind of omnidirectional portal to anywhere, and obviously part and parcel and intelligence to be able to navigate that and to be able to hopefully send you to the right place.
Yeah, for me, I don't have a lot to say on the technology. I think there were some happy accidents that ended up being basically helping make good storylines. But so I think with the transporter, they did that because it was just cheaper.
Yeah.
Rather than have like a shuttle or stuff like that.
Which is funny too, because like you think of something so synonymous with Star Trek, it's so accidental.
What's that?
Which is funny when you think of it.
Accidental, but it is so awesome. Like it is like my younger self, was preoccupied with the idea of like standing on top of my hill and just sort of like closing my eyes and getting like transported up into space. It was like the ultimate sort of
for me it was convenience, right? It was the convenience,
and then you'll be in like a magical land. So it was escapism, like at its best, and it made the sense of like relief and comfort and joy at the climax or end of an episode where they've been chased like Doctor Who on a planet, when they're in the warm embrace of the Enterprise again, because they've been transported up. It's sort of like it's an excellent way to go from to basically have like a climax and then like an automatic sort of sense of relief, as opposed to you're in like a dangerous situation, and then it's like you get into like the shuttle and it's like, okay, now our shuttle is taking off and now we're 100 kilocams from them, we're 200 kilocams from them. Here it was sort of like you could have like a like a stunning moment where like Kirk like kicks one of them down a pit and then it's like goodbye, and then he's not like so it was
Firm
like
closure.
in terms of like getting the impact quickly, the emotional impact, the emotional energy. It was awesome, and of course it just made things fucking convenient. You don't have to waste time. Like also like it's so good for like for people who have like a lack of attention span, because like watching scenes and then like getting to like a shuttle and everything would be like Jesus, like this is
Yeah,
fucking
I mean,
wasted.
it did also mean that every time you wanted to have a dangerous moment, there had to be an explanation as to why the transporter couldn't do whatever it could, right?
Yeah,
Because it was the
that's
magic
right.
wand
Yeah,
so there's a
and
fair
fixing
amount of
shit.
Yeah, those are totally believable and like yeah,
It was.
work fine in that context.
It's like, I don't know. What's a good way to describe it? Say a sonic screwdriver.
Yeah, a nice
No,
universal.
no.
Yeah, it's not okay. It's not a universal.
That is a piece of garbage writing. That sonic screwdriver.
I'm not arguing that point. It's I'll agree. It's incredibly lazy. At
No,
any
it's,
point, they could impose
it's-
hard and fast rules,
It's super
but it's like
fucking useful for getting out of like like one of the writers said, we can't have the Doctor be fucking trapped by a locked door. It just stops the plot. We can't have him explaining why every door has been miraculously unlocked. You give him a
Okay, but
device that
people-
unlocks
yeah, but they
doors
were
and
a little
boom,
bit lazy.
it's fine.
They were a little bit lazy with a little bit of technobabble and a few MacGyver episodes.
No, but they would have to do
With-
it over
yeah,
and over
they're-
again.
yeah,
And the
it's
point
true.
was, fuck it.
I, for
let's just ditch all that. Give him
Would
a
have
door
appreciated.
opening device, and then we don't never have to worry about that
Yeah,
particular
but
plot
then it's
thing
not. But then it's
again.
not sci-fi. It's not
Less
sci-fi at
wood.
all. It's just about like let's worship this godlike character.
It's not sci-fi. But
No, it's not. There can
not-
be-
It's
there
like
can-
Star
part of
Wars.
sci-
It's not sci-fi. It's like it's an opera. It's fantasy.
Yeah, I know it's true. I mean, Doctor Who. I guess you could say that like it is about.
But to be honest, like
about travel through time and space to see interesting cultures. So
yeah.
it's absolutely relevant.
and I
Yeah.
don't like your
doesn't let itself get bogged down.
I don't like your like hard sci-fi rules, because Star Trek like fails like monumentally on that
Yeah.
thing. Like with just having a transporter, it's like the same.
In
It's
ways
a
they
magic
admit.
wand. It's a
Yeah.
fucking like, oh, we can just get to planets. It's bullshit. It's impossible.
No.
It's physically impossible.
No, I disagree.
It's
Uh,
impossible.
Brucey, I'm sorry.
It's
A,
a
you're never
magic
going to
wand.
teleport. B, one day you will die. You're probably not even going to leave
like,
the
look
planet.
at the way
I don't
they
mean to be a
used-
doomsayer.
Look at the way they use the transporter later on. Like it was like it could cure any disease. Give
fucking in
people
New Trek where
immortal
they-
life. Like you could be trapped there for 70 years. Like it became this magic wand over and over again.
That's- I
And it
wanna
was
do that.
fun. I loved it, and that's my point. I love it. And I love Doctor Who. It doesn't matter to
I
me that
love it.
there's a magic wand in it. It's fine. Like the rest
Yeah,
of
it's
the,
how they-
the rest of the story is important enough that you just wave that aside and it's fucking fine.
And obviously, I am
I
one of the
agree.
few
Sorry.
losers out there who would want them to be more hardcore, more strict, more adherent to like an internally consistent set of rules, and
Yeah.
in cases where they need to employ more elaborate,
No, it's true.
technobabble. I'm never going to give them a hard time for using a specific or new technobabble.
Now, I don't mind if they break real rules, but when they break their own rules, then it gets
Yeah,
kind of annoying.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, even if it's just like
Yeah.
galactic geography.
No, exactly. No, I thought it was internally consistent, and it did not take me. I have no problem suspending my disbelief
Yeah.
at any time with the technology they employed. I think.
I mean,
Even though they are completely impossible.
Yeah, I mean, overall, your attitude. I can't remember case by case.
They're not impossible at all.
Really? You got
Brucey, is this like
Is that a plan?
this is like your intellectual version of not being able to admit that Shatner's a bad guy? He's not a jerk. He's not a jerk.
No, but there's nothing implausible about the conversion between energy and matter. Like that's like.
Except for wanting to put it back together in exactly the same capacity it was before.
Yeah, but like I mean, that's all that takes is the application of some technology we don't know to do something that we know.
I'm not actually, it's not the recombination part that like annoys me so much. It's the turn you into energy in the first place. Like we have technology for turning you into energy that exists. It's not a good scene.
You know my whole thing. If you have to take me apart, I don't want to go. I'm into being the way I am, and that's just it. Even if you show me someone walking into A and coming out B, there's no way you can ever 100% intellectually convince me that that's going to be me that comes out the other end, and not just another being with my so-called perception of continuity of consciousness.
Okay, Campbell. Here's a version of the transporter that can totally work. Is you basically have somebody who is like a robot body, but the robot body is
Yeah.
Let's just wait for a second. The robot body.
Sorry.
The robot body is biologically made, and then you destroy you
What do you mean, like with a mommy and a daddy?
no, you destroy that body with like a beam of light, and then you just
Uh-huh.
build a new robot, and the other side with a beam of light. And
Why
then
do you destroy the body to begin with?
Well, so that you don't have more than one copy, because that would be double. What do you
Yeah.
call it?
Double sleeving.
Double sleeving. Yeah. So, but anyway, that would be a transporter. It would be exactly a transporter. The only thing is you'd have to have the infrastructure to have a robot building machine wherever you were transporting to. But
Russi,
anyway,
what you have invented is the Prestige. Have you seen that movie?
yes, I've seen that.
You invented that's pretty good. Yeah, and that if there was that thing of like, yeah, you create a duplicate of yourself in another
Yeah.
place and just like shoot the current you in the head.
Well, if you recall, Campbell, remember when we were talking about is it Tomorrow Is Yesterday? The one where they go back to the 60s. And
What,
we're
which one? The
we're
DS9?
like- No, TOS.
Oh,
Remember
okay,
when
sorry.
they go back and they get that air pilot who sees them as a UFO?
Yeah.
He's transported away at the end, and we're all like, well, what happens to him? And my contention was that they just transported him into space. He's dead.
You mean where they beam him into himself?
Yeah, because
Yeah,
they're
yeah, yeah, yeah,
merge
yeah.
souls somehow. But yeah, anyway.
Yeah.
It was yeah.
Okay, but anyway,
So getting beyond the transporter and like the impossibilities of the technologies.
Yeah, so getting
What
beyond the
about the allegations that Star Trek has inspired technology?
Oh yeah,
Like,
that's 100%
so-
true. Even if it's only
Well,
it absolutely is. Even if it's only in the way it predicted convergent technological devices like a tricorder.
Campbell. That's all.
What?
No, but did it predict it, or is it just
Or cell phones.
is it just like, yeah, this is an obvious thing that we're going to be
It
doing?
predicted it, but
and did it predict it, or did it inspire it? Is
It
the other
created
question,
it
right?
because it recognized that the need would exist for this device. So it was just a question of finding the means to do it.
But
And
it-
I think it's a simple.
Like,
It's like saying if SpaceX completes the Starship, that really the only reason it exists is because of that Tintin comic where he goes to space in that thing that looks like a silver bullet.
I am
It's
on
like,
board for that theory. That is,
No, but-
I'm
but these
100%
theories
on.
are-
I'm
these
in.
theories are
I'm in.
ridiculous.
It's fucking Tay. I fucking knew it was Tay. I love
No, but
Tay.
these theories are stupid. But anyway, so in terms of technology, like the transporter was awesome and it was convenient and it was just luck.
For my money, it's about the tricorder. I think
But
the idea.
The tricorder is a bit of a sonic screwdriver. It just does everything.
Well, that's the whole goddamn point. We as humans want a little box to be able to do
Yes.
everything.
But in the case
And
was-
although I
but it was
mourn the complete
believable.
shit of a UI,
Yeah.
I really want and appreciate the need for some kind of convergence device because it represents a shift in me, because my personal life was I don't know, I didn't really apart from general purpose computing, I didn't really believe in convergence devices. I thought you'd have a different device for all your separate needs, and keep them strapped to your person in your your army
But
jacket
every
in various
sci-fi
pockets,
has that though. Like that's normal. Like sci-fi has like the every gadget. Hell, fucking Batman has a belt that has everything on it.
Yes, that suck.
No.
Anyway, the point is, I liked Star Trek's particular application, which was the idea that there could be one almost down to one device, with a few exceptions that you need to take with you, that would do everything you need. Even if it's just because it comes a pale second to the ultimate convergence device, at least in terms of informatics, which would be the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. It'd be a complete universal repository of all useful knowledge at any given time.
It's not
All
actually
right.
that useful.
I mean, shut up, Phil. I'm gonna come down there.
Okay, so anyway,
Come on,
so
look at some of the passages in that thing. Earth, mostly harmless.
anyway, so then,
Took him 50 years to get the word mostly added to that.
I mean, editors, right? Sorry, continue, Rizzy.
everything else I think is pretty derivative, useful, and definitely belong there. But like phasers are just ray guns, and so are photon torpedoes are just light versions of submarine torpedoes. The
I
only
still have
thing,
problems with that.
the only thing that maybe was put some thought into it was the shields, it being a sort of an energy field as opposed to them just having armored plating. I don't know if they came up with that. I mean, maybe we had a bunch of versions of that. I don't know.
We did check this up at the time at some point for whatever reason, and we did find there were some precursors, but it's like none so ubiquitously widely known as to be like 100% like them attributing to it. So it's like
Yes, I'm not even gonna give them that.
it's kind of they kind of coined it.
Yeah, okay, fine. But it is good again for moving the plot forward where the damage is not something you have to physically repair each time. So that's good.
Here's one thing I will say about the technology, which is maybe less to do with the technology, more like well, whatever, the way they implement, or the way they describe the universe or the cosmos as like, a thing that exists within science. I like how they made, as hard as they could, not just over TOS, but of all of Star Trek, the idea that space is interesting. Because I don't know if you've been to space. No, but space, I mean, with the exception of it's like, I like the color of the galaxy that I've only seen once. That one time we went to Sutton for Tubby's bachelor party. But the color of the universe is great. But overall, it seems pretty boring.
Wait, hang on.
Except for
What do you mean?
Well, it's when the only time I've ever seen the color of the galaxy is when I got sufficiently far away from the city lights
on
that one trip to Sutton, and you could see the fucking.
Have you not taken any canoe trips? You need to get some fucking Canadian in you. You need to go. And
I've been camping and stuff like that, but I just never seen a night sky as clear as on that one time.
I don't recommend canoeing more than once.
It was fun. You wouldn't do that again?
Well, No, I enjoyed doing it the one time, but as an activity, just sort of man, that is painful. But anyway, so what was I going to say?
But what I was saying, I like how it try to make space interesting with you being able to phase in and out of it, and
that's not unique to Star Trek. So for instance,
no, I know that, but it pushed collectively that idea harder than anything else, right? Because up until then, you would have only ever seen isolated science fiction stories that would have dealt with each of those issues on an individual basis, and not seeing them all sort of combined as a gestalt. But if you look back, all the different weird kind of sort of texture and geography it gave to space, all the different weird shit that could happen, even if it's just different kinds of radiation, or subspace anomaly.
And I agree with you. They did a good job, but that stuff is super necessary. The asteroid field that the Millennium Falcon goes through, a real asteroid field, 2 days between asteroids.
If you were lucky. Of course, in our day, and stuff like that, and and I also like the ways in which they played subtly with time.
One particle of dust, and then nothing for 3 light years, and then another particle of dust. So
I really liked A Wink of an Eye when they sped Kirk up, and the idea that even though it was incredibly poorly done in terms of the execution, and how it all worked out the timeline,
and you're bringing up blink of an eye.
Because it still stuck with me because it was such a great concept. Because the idea that that you could exist at 2 different phases, to me that was so fascinating, and definitely, But I don't know. It just it's what can you say about technology? They use a lot of it.
I mean, if we do a sci-fi concept, I'll have a lot more to say. But let's move on to the next category.
All right. So the next category we had was for progressive values. Specifically,
and so
the rate
we usually bring this up.
Yeah,
Campbell, do you want me to just make this motion because I know you're gonna
We want you to speak from your heart and say whatever's on your say whatever you feel, Russi. There's no wrong answers. We will judge you silently and then vocally, but carry on.
Yeah. Anyway, so in terms of the series, I know, Campbell, you thought it was uneven in terms of equality for people of different races and genders and all this. I thought it was roughly even, and roughly in keeping with Gene Roddenberry's
roughly even, nobody won. It was just a draw.
No. I mean that because I know that you had some episodes that you thought were super retrograde, super misogynist or whatever.
I mean, yeah, absolutely, yeah. I definitely feel that that in apart from the idea that obviously over the course of Star Trek would be much more developed, but as of the original series, it was only basically offered in sort of piecemeal. You had to kind of piece it together, and just the general idea that it seemed like what they were going for and what they stated outright explicitly sometimes was a kind of environment, at least in Starfleet, with humans, where it didn't matter who you were, where you came from, what race you were, or indeed what gender, But of course, like we've said in the past, it's they appeared, to paint a very egalitarian place, kind of place, but it was still also very, very, very clear in a kind of unintentional way the ways in which they were still mired in like the values of the time, which hadn't really fallen around to like, actually granting complete equality, or if like the difference between equality or equity or, just like equal opportunity given to all, basically, right? And we saw that in the various ways it was inconsistent, dealing with women.
So what I felt about the show is that it had lofty ideals as far as that, Campbell. But what happened was that writers would fall back in their own tricks, right?
And they get lazy.
So they would be like, okay, so, like women have equal rights and equal everything like that. Okay, so the woman screams hysterically immediately at the sign of an insect, and Kirk sweeps her up in her arms. And you're like, okay, you started okay, but did you see what happened there halfway through?
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think that was its only real flaw. It was the fact that, like, there were deadlines. Like, I saw something with talking about a guy who was literally write copy as actor, and it would be leave his office and go straight to the actors on set. Like it was just like that tight all the time. So you can see why they would just fall to tropes as quickly as possible.
Yeah, no, I agree with Phil, and they put a valiant effort, and like I think to a certain degree, like they were awesome, like but for their time and even beyond their time. Like so, for instance, the fact that they had like an Indian admiral, that was awesome. Like man, like even today there are no Indians in any show, any movie. And like in the episode of Court Martial, there was Chandra, and of course in Star Trek IV there was a famous Indian tennis player playing a captain. But yeah, no, like they were throwing people in left and right and center, and like in terms of like Spanish speaking, or I guess
who are you referring to?
Well, they had Khan, obviously, Puerto Rican or whatever. Is that where he's from?
No, he's from Mexico, but I'm not gonna. I'm so desperately afraid of being wrong.
No, he's Puerto Rican or something like that. No, but they had like how many times did they have somebody called like Ramirez or Gomez or something like that in like in their transporter party? Tons of times.
Fairly frequently, but.
Yeah, I mean they and also like a Japanese like that person. Like I mean, man, next time that a show.
I don't care if your skin is white or green or
Chinese. No, they seem to like go. They were basically
Mexico City.
Yeah, they were like a PBS show before PBS existed. Unless did PBS exist back then?
Probably.
I have no idea, but I'm going to say yeah.
They were like they were like Magic School Bus, Sesame Street, PBS level of having almost like a paranoia about representing as many people as possible as often as possible.
That was good.
Well, what
That's one of their huge strengths.
Yeah.
Absolutely, totally agree.
We saw that as a deliberate thing. Even though there was, I mean, and whatever, we can obviously call out the certain things that they did, which is like nowadays is like amazingly gauche. But it's like like what can you do in terms of if you want to hire say like a dozen or so people that look like they were Asian or from South America. Sure those people lived and existed in L.A., but they probably weren't part of the same union. And it's like, although, whatever, we also saw Star Trek play fast and loose with stuff like that too. But I think in the same way that, what Phil said is that it tries to do something. It tries to paint something on one level, but at the same time kind of fails in interesting ways, even if it's stuff that, wouldn't have really, caught at the time. Like it's like back in the day, like no one batted an eye, I'm sure, when the one white woman played Indian with like a bindi on her face, or indeed, or whatever. I mean, I'm never gonna give them a hard time for casting Ricardo Montalban as Khan.
These woke concepts of like
these are entirely modern.
Appropriating someone's like culture and stuff like that didn't even exist back then.
No, yeah, absolutely, and that's what I'm saying. It's like, I don't hold that against it. What I do hold them against it, hold against them is the values that they betray while still trying. Because they try hard. They try hard most of the time, but sometimes they fail because not fail. It's not consistent. Let's put it that way. And you still see a lot of for one, the male gaze. You see the male gaze represented a lot, and I don't think that in itself is a bad thing. I'm not going to be like a male gaze apologist, but the point is that that is the only type of gaze we saw on Star Trek.
Actually, I just saw this article with Scarlett Johansson complaining about how she was like over-sexualized as the black girl.
Yeah, Brucey. Yeah, that was you.
But that was like in the 21st century, Campbell. This was like 40 years before then. And so
what's your point? But I don't.
Above even like modern movies. in terms of like having over-sexualized women.
I agree.
My point is that even though there's been a lot of there has been a lot of obviously huge cultural shifts that have happened, I think it's just important. Well, whatever that we do look on Star Trek accurately and recognize the areas in it that I think need to be, the ones we can exemplify, and the things we need to draw attention to, which I think over the course of TOS, what we saw more than anything else, in anytime something like ribald, like sex came up, we would frequently see like what I think was like the very interesting glimpse into like the mind of like the fantasies of like a middle-aged white, person of a certain age, that comprised the writers and the producers, a lot of like, what comprised their ultimate fantasy, if it was like a robot that was designed to please their every whim, or the woman who they attract, who attracts them chemically.
They knew their.
Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. I think they were revealing a lot about themselves, is my point. And
they knew the demographic that they were like playing to, and even future demographic, which is like.
So you're saying they were definitely playing to you?
Yeah, young males.
And maybe that's fine. But the fact that they didn't play to any other type of group, really, and the only time we saw other groups really getting into it was they like honestly, it took the show to be canceled 3 times before they realized they had a female fan base, because it was them that organized all the letter writing campaigns, and all of a sudden they were like, shit, fucking people, they're into Spock, and I think they always misjudge their audience.
So,
but anyway,
feminism, great. Obviously, the race stuff that Rusty brought up earlier. Of course, the first interracial kiss. All in all, progressive to the point, and I think more progressive than any Star Trek since, especially relatively.
In terms of its landmarks, it's
from a relative point of view, and I think just in a general point of view, like the other shows kind of fucking sucked when it came to actually pushing the envelope on anything. They more just towed the line. This show pushed the envelopes.
Yeah, you raise a good point. I mean, it's largely where the envelopes were at the time, but still, that's a good fucking point.
But
especially
interracial
when we
kiss
saw
was a problem, right? And they did it anyways. And there was no real gay representation on any of the Star Treks afterwards, because they were afraid of network reaction and whatnot. So you're like, no, they were brave in the 60s and pushing envelopes, and in the 90s, they espoused good values, but in no way did they push anything.
Yeah, and really, and we haven't really seen that type of slack picked up since like Discovery, which has been going out of its way to absolutely make sure there's no box as yet unchecked in that capacity. Right. So it's like they're making it for lost time.
It's actually a good move. Just get that stuff out of the way.
So let's skip over to Vision of the Future, since that's sort of
You want to skip over aliens?
We'll get to aliens.
Yeah, okay.
That's more the fun stuff. So let's go back to Vision of the Future just to sort of round off the conversation about tech and progressiveness, and then we'll get into the what are the coolest aliens.
Okay, I got an open-ended question. What do you think is the most advanced civilization represented in Star Trek? And the only reason I because I don't.
I'd say Metrons.
Interesting. And for that reason, do you do like the standard things of like, and assuming that like they're more advanced because they would have like moved beyond like the physical bodies kind of thing?
Well, hang on, are we talking about Visions of the Future?
There's also the
Visions of the Future. You mean advanced in what sense? Like,
well, that's just it. I mean, there's so many different metrics, but do you think there's something that was put forward that you deem more than anything else, like more advanced?
No,
and it's tough because there was a lot of
in the show,
godlike.
Humanity was put forward as the most advanced over and over and over again, and they had to deal with other alien foibles.
Yes, I agree with Phil.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I agree with Phil. Like when they showed so first of all, almost every vision of the far future they showed was negative. In fact, I wrote some of them down. Let's see, there was...
What about the Galactic Federation? What about fucking Clint Howard?
Hold on. So, okay, there were
pretty advanced.
There were the species that created artificial intelligence, and like Ruk, they got wiped out.
The old ones.
There was Henok. And
they did die, though.
Yeah, they wiped themselves out.
They
had godlike powers and they wiped themselves out. And of course, in the cage, or not the cage, where No Man's gone before...
I like the Delusions. I think they were... Well, obviously flawed though, and clearly not advanced because they were sterile.
Yeah, but anyway, so there's several episodes. Gamesters of Triskelion, they just become sadistic.
and they just become brains. I don't care how much fun you have as a brain. If you just reduce yourself to a brain, I think you're probably missing out. I don't want to be judgy. There's a lot of non-brain stuff that's pretty fun. I recently found some of that shit out.
But anyway, my point is most.
Lister got over it.
Anyway, my point is most of the visions of the far futures and like the most technologically advanced species is not positive. It's that
it's abandoning the body and becoming immortal through weird, unnatural means.
There are some positive ones, like the guys on the I forget their name when they there's that species that stops the humans and the Klingons from fighting.
What, Day of the Dove? No, Day of the. Oh, you mean Day of the Dove, or the ones that were inciting the damage?
No, not Day of the Dove. The ones where they go down to that planet and they think that they're all like human beings, but they're just energy beings.
Yeah, in the robes.
Yeah, what is that one called? Fuck, how the fuck can we not remember?
I'm pretty sure it was Day of the Dove, Russi.
No,
Errand of Mercy. Errand of Mercy.
Yes, because Day of the Dove is where they have to fight each other over.
Day of the Dove is the aggro one, where trying to make the fight.
Okay, so there's that one, and of course the Metrons also at the end of Arena. So those ones, and I guess you could say Charlie X's parents, kinda.
Okay, I feel like we're just talking about aliens at this point.
Well, yeah. I guess.
So my point is, I agree with what Phil said, which is that they were showing like humans as maybe not as technologically advanced as other people, but that they were like,
but maybe morally as advanced as you could get. I don't know, but it's
to a certain degree like superior, or at least their existence was more meaningful.
These are all such subjective things. It's juicy. Interesting.
I mean, but that was the show's point of view, Campbell. I don't know if you share.
And that's what I hardcore agree with.
Yeah.
It's funny. I don't even think I've ever even thought of it from that perspective.
Well,
that's
what the show does. It goes like humans are perfect, but you have to show like this struggle. So you show an alien race having this struggle, and the humans go in and say, "Look how great we are."
We choose not to kill.
Yeah.
I guess that's what I guess to me Star Trek is the process of becoming perfect, right? Because nobody's perfect right off the bat, but maybe perfect being the wrong word, but
Federation is supposed to be perfect. That was the whole
It kind of is supposed to be perfect. It's a little simplistic.
Simplistic, but that's the idea.
Yeah, so TOS, it was simplistic on that front but they were like border police. We didn't even get involved in what was happening in the Federation.
Yeah. It's true. Yeah, we can't really extrapolate much about the utopia from TOS alone.
I mean, maybe if they'd gotten into it, they would have come up with Section 31 or something like that.
Or really any details about how life on Earth works.
Gene Roddenberry was a two-dimensional creature. Like he didn't like DS9. He thought like all that dark shit was like going against his vision or whatever.
Man, we'll get into that, but Deep Space Nine, we owe a lot of Deep Space Nine's success to the fact that Voyager was created. Like, apparently the best thing that happened to Deep Space Nine, Rick Berman
like, holy shit, I gotta go somewhere and watch something else.
No, Rick Berman left, basically. He was showrunner for Deep Space Nine, and he took off to do Voyager instead and left it to our heroes.
And a lot of people were like, Rick Berman's gone, quick! Come on, come on.
Cool.
And that's what
let's do all the fun stuff.
Because he had like all these rules, like no serial stories. Like we met the Dominion, we're not going to deal with them again and stuff like that. And everyone else was like, but come on, the Dominion's so cool, we should watch them clash. And he's like, no, that's too complicated. We want a 1 episode show. All right, I'm going over to Voyager. You two are in charge. And they went,
and that problem resolved itself.
Anyways, we'll get into that in the future.
But. I mean that's me basically like saying also that like story is like having an engaging story is more important than some dogmatic like fucking idealism.
I mean, you got to be able to. You still have to have this. Have to have the story at the end. So it's like it's understandable that there's always like a problem, with the solution. I just think
as Kirk says, like maybe we weren't meant to dance to the rhythm of a harp, but march to the beat of a drum. Meaning that we have to like struggle, and we're like imperfect, and we're not supposed to just sort of like hang out and like have a good time.
Yeah, I mean that's
as we've definitely discussed. I'm sorry, Pete, do you want to go?
I mean that's a Stoic philosophy, and it was extremely useful for society for a long time, and probably has no more relevance to today's society anymore. Like
That is a good counterpoint, Rusi. Yeah, so counterpoint to your whole stoicism is how about not?
yeah, stoicism was great when everyone had to like labor all day
War rations.
on the farm to like survive, And when you get into a future where robots do everything, stoicism, it's like you got to work all day. You're like, do you? The robots are making everything. The philosophy stops being useful in a world with robots and shit like that. But it was super useful in an agricultural based society.
As Kirk also said, there's certain things men must do to remain men.
No, that's also just nonsense.
I take issue with that as well. If only
I mean,
because
like, what does it mean? Like, what have you done that's remotely manly, Rusi, in your life or me? Like, it's fucking bullshit. Are we
that's how we had
less
to kill a
useful
hobo.
than people that have murdered others who have been manly by murdering? Fuck all that bullshit, man.
No, hold
yeah,
on.
no, this is important. But
You're
yeah,
asserting some concept of machismo. There was none of that.
But that's what you're talking about.
But there's
It's
got to be
like
something.
certain things that a man must do
When he
to be a
said
man.
men, when he said men, he meant humans. He didn't.
Okay, fine.
He said
Forget
men,
them.
'cause that's how they used to refer to.
So
human-
what does that
humankind.
even mean then? What do they have to do? What was he referring to?
He meant that like
You have to have a mortgage. You have to have a social insurance number.
Yeah, you have to have a purpose.
Purpose.
You can't-
Oh, okay.
The
So it wasn't about.
You have to have a purpose.
It wasn't about going into the forest with a spear.
But actually, this is going back into my whole theory of like Star Trek. Why it's important to rear kids on Star Trek.
Because
And why I
stoicism.
think-
Because they have to
Well, I
learn
think-
discipline.
Why I think it was about more than just the idealism. Although the idealism is cool, I like it. Campbell, you're a winner on that front.
I don't. It's not, all right.
But I'm saying like for me, it was like Horatio Hornblower or Odysseus. It was like a Greek myth, talking about the just like epic stories describing like what mankind can.
We know your love of that particular philosophy, Rusi. Like,
Yeah.
you espouse it a lot.
But more to the point, yeah, and more to the point, your thing. I will for the hopefully last time, at least in the context of the original series. The last time I'll bring it up, but it's like I can completely understand your sort of pro stoicism thing because of your need to know yourself as an individual and to, without having been tested in that capacity, not to really have a firm grounding of who you are as an individual. And I understand that, but I'm also again telling you that your search for that meaning to know yourself at the stakes you're conceptualizing is selfish, both to yourself and the people around you. And you're unlikely to be like in a bank stick up with people like holding guns to your head, and you have to like save your girlfriend and beat up all the bad guys. It's not going to come down to that. So you're going to have to find more mundane ways of defining yourself as an individual and proving to yourself that you're a good person. That's what's key, right?
Rusi? You're not going to save a bank. So stop talking
If
about
you
it.
get
Stop
the chance-
bringing it up.
If you get the
time.
chance to stop a bank heist, then by all means do it. Do you do much in-person banking? How much time do you spend going into banks?
Stop with
hanging
the
around
bank
in dumpsters?
fantasies.
Anyway, all I'm saying is there's other ways, or at least there has to be, right? Because I think it's just
right.
because here's the thing. It's always about privilege, and we're in a very privileged place to be able to ask for like us to be beset with additional circumstances, but other people not so much. So for that reason, I think you should do something other than wish for the apocalypse, during which your manhood and mettle will be tested, because the apocalypse is really bad for the economy.
All right, so let's get on to aliens.
Who are your
Best
favorite aliens?
and why?
All of Star Trek.
Well, I mean, as I've said many times before, like for me, like it's all about horror and fear and mystery. So the aliens that you knew the least, that were the most fucked up and the most scary, were the best. So I like the Spectre the Gun alien because
Wait,
Did you even see them?
yeah,
saw them?
yes, it was two fucking floating.
Oh, it's the
glowing
thing. It's the
eyes.
jellyfish.
No, not kind of like a jellyfish. I guess, yeah.
Kind of like a stone jellyfish.
No, more like
Smoking?
those
Like a
creatures.
water feature?
More like a Jawa, like a tall Jawa.
But it's like those things you see in the lobbies of like Vietnamese restaurants, right? It's like that thing and spins and there's like smoke. No? Anyway.
Maybe.
I
Yeah,
have no idea what that is. I feel like I should be the one that knows what that is.
But okay, to me, it's the Telosians because they will always represent cool, freaky ass aliens because
Colossians again.
they had big
Yeah.
brains.
He's a big brain one, guys.
Jesus
Yeah,
Christ.
yeah.
Okay, fine.
Anyway, sorry. Because of the aforementioned big brains. I don't know. You'll have to picture it because, but yeah, just to me, just the sheer brilliance of the fact they could fucking do shit with their minds,
The buttheads.
and the fact that they had that little bladder in the pocket that made their veins pop out. That was so good. It's so.
So those guys were good. They were fun.
And the Horta,
And
even
the
though
Horta,
it's just
yes,
a guy in a rug.
Agreed. The Horta is probably like the number one.
Although I would say Romulans were good in this show in a similar scary sort of way because they were doing the cloaked episode, and that's one of the best episodes ever.
Because they were the closest to man, and man
And
is
they have
the
like that
scariest.
that Roman sort of like centurion thing, you know, and you got it.
Yeah, it's
and
hot.
It was implacable, but I loved. I thought the Romulans were one of my favorite adversarial aliens. For just
They got the most personality fleshed out.
Actually, for me, number one would be the flying pancakes.
Oh, the flying
Ooh,
pancakes.
yeah.
There's no
Horta.
because there's no scientific explanation as to why that's so scary.
the
right?
Horta, man, going through walls and shit like that. Horta,
That's
and
pretty
like,
scary.
and burning
Yeah, we said
people.
Horta.
Oh my god.
Yeah, the Horta's good, but
Wait,
But
what
the
is it?
Horta also, on a certain level, is like maybe like benevolent, and maybe if it came down to it, you might be able to talk yourself out of it, going whoa, But a flying pancake, it's only got one thing in its mind, is to like.
Maple syrup.
latch on.
I don't know
and
actually.
Plug your pain.
Yeah, exactly. That's its bag. It's not. I don't know. I'm not down with that. That's not cool.
Yeah.
I'm totally
Okay,
scared
cool.
of those flying
Right, so
pancakes,
yeah,
man.
I'm content.
That
with
is
it.
why every time I enter a room, I look up at the ceiling. Tell me you've never done that.
Yeah, well, you shouldn't because those things hid where there was shadow, and that's not necessarily
Behind pillars. You're basically
Yeah, you
screwed.
look
If they
behind
want
pillars.
you, there's nothing that you
Don't
can do.
even. Oh, la 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 la. There's no pillars. La 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 la.
Okay, fine. So, okay, next topic.
Okay.
No, that's it for aliens.
Okay.
Well,
Wait.
We got flying pancakes. Okay,
Horta.
we're good. All right,
I
so
mean,
I mean-
okay, fine. What about the Shellyak? Not the Shellyak. They look like the Shellyak. The ones from Savage Curtain.
which one was that?
The Excalbians.
The Excalbians. Actually,
Yeah, the
no,
Excalbians.
no,
The
no,
Excalbians is
no,
probably the coolest looking one, even
Yeah,
cooler than the Telosians,
Yeah, if you're
because they were smoking.
if you're into prosthetics and stuff like that, then I guess they're kind of cool. But
The
like,
Excalbians were the coolest.
but,
Yeah.
but for me, it was the ones that like freaked me out as a young kid because like they look so. They look basically the way to fucking freak people out is to make something that is slightly human, but in some way insane. So like they're always smiling, they have no eyebrows, something like that just makes you fucking freaked out.
Or it's just like really tall, like Ted Cassidy.
Yeah,
The
or they
giant-
have no pupils. They something like that. Like is the most fucking scary.
Was that
It's like
giant,
David Bowie when he would rip off his eyebrows.
Was that giant starship
David Bowie
eater,
looks fucked up just
an
because he's got
alien
that weird
or a
fucking
weapon?
different eye.
The giant hand.
The
No,
giant
he's-
space like the thing that would eat spaceships.
Oh, the
Oh,
planet
the
killer.
planet killer. The giant space.
Yeah. Was that alive or is that a
That was-
weapon?
Oh, that
I
was
can't remember.
not alive. That was a
That was a
robot ship.
weapon.
Question.
I agree, Phil. That was a good.
It was a mechanism, but it may have been alive in some
No, it was not
capacity.
alive. It was-
How do you know?
They said it
Has
was.
it filled out a census? What does it say? What is it? How does it
Fine.
define itself?
All right. So we have top 5 moments. You wanted to put in a top 5 crew moment to start that off and then go on to Spock and Kirk? But we'd have to think what those top 5 moments are.
Yeah, no,
I'm trying to think of a good crew moment, but it's like I know we should be able to find one.
Never mind. Top 5 Spock moments in the whole series. And you have to justify it.
Okay,
Yeah,
well this is gonna be it's gonna be interesting.
All right, so let's do countdown 5, and we'll do each. And if you take each other, is too fucking bad. So Campbell, do 1.
Okay, I'm definitely gonna start with
Your lowest one.
Is it Paradise Syndrome or Paradise? I've got it right here.
Paradise Syndrome.
Well, how do you know? How do you what my favorite Spock moment is? Oh my god.
Oh no, sorry. I thought you were asking about the episode.
Yeah, because like Woody, it's the one where they go to the planet and they get the spores in the face, and Spock just wants to hang out.
Oh no,
and
no,
live an
that's
agrarian
outside of
lifestyle.
Paradise, Campbell. Paradise Syndrome is where Kirk becomes an Indian god.
I know. That's why I was saying. That's why I was saying it's not that. I was
Fine.
trying to think, but it's like
Fine.
I was looking for it. So it's this side of Paradise. Yes. So for me, my favorite Spock moment will always be the one where he apocryphally says, "I'm not leaving, Jim," and like runs off and like that whole and also it's okay. So you just want me to do one? Yes, I'll start with that. Just like
Okay,
yeah,
fine.
Okay, Lucy, do 1. 1.
Okay, fine. From Balance of Terror, where that guy, that bigot, goes nuts on like Spock, and he's like, you've never fucking admitted that like these Romulans are an offshoot of like Vulcans, whatever. And he's like, and they're warlike, and we should like attack them. And then I just like the fact Spock is sitting with like hands like this, and Kirk is like, sit down, Mister. And then Spock just goes, I agree. That's one of my favorites.
For my next one, I guess I'm going to say All Our Yesterdays, because again, it's another episode where Spock gets the chance to kind of be unspock for a bit, and because it was like so late on, and it was like because the episode where he goes through the Atavachron, Atavachron, and he goes to like in the past and becomes like a caveman type of thing, and so I think we get a glimpse into like what the human Spock would be like. And
Campbell, the scene itself, like for me from that episode, and I totally forgot about it, but yeah, that's a good one. Is just when he loses it on like McCoy.
I've heard that before. You know what? I don't think I like that. Is that what he says?
He says,
"Fuck you."
No, he says, "I don't like that. I didn't think I ever did."
Yeah, that's it. Oh, I got it wrong. You're right. That's nice.
That is totally.
I don't think I ever. Yeah,
That's
and it's like,
moment.
especially because you felt it. It's something that was obviously building up the whole show, right? And you're like, wham, bam. Anyway, whatever.
Yeah, that was
good.
Cool. It was like cold. It was like he would have been an awesome bad guy. Okay, so my next one is
Wait, Campbell.
Yeah.
Oh, did we just yours? Sorry, never mind. Go on.
Yeah. Next one is Space Seed when they're talking about or where Khan is talking about how like those like highly evolved humans, we're like offering the world order kind of thing, and then Spock says. As a pack of animals under one whip or something like that. But he makes a very scathing remark, and in keeping with his sort of disdain for tyrants. So I like that. And also, I mean, just as a thing to throw out there, man, I love the fact that Kirk and everyone else at the table has like a sneaking like admiration for his tyranny. I love that. But
Say something about Kirk that he admires a strong man. Just saying.
No, because I like the fact that there's no moralizing. Kirk is like
exactly.
He's like we're barbaric. It's bad, but it's part of our humanity, and it's true. You can't fucking just eject the parts of humanity that are there. Okay, Campbell. Next
Not
one.
only that, you can lock people up for displaying those barbaric senses of humanity. You say.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
They weren't displaying it. They were just saying that we can't help how we feel.
Yeah, that's true.
And
we feel like
my next
subjugating
one.
you.
My next one, I've already forgot. Is it? It's Devil in the Dark, and if only because we get to see. I think, unless I'm mistaken, it's just Spock at his most emotive, where he's
tell us the scene.
I'm sorry, where he's mind melding with the Horda.
Oh, God damn! That was like one of mine. That was
Anyway, where he just
Pain?
where he's like, and he just goes on, and he's like murderers. And he's like kind of and he's like and he's just kind of trailing off and fading away.
Yeah.
And it's like and again I might be getting it wrong because I might be conflating this scene with another similar post mind meld breakdown scene, but if I recall, this is the one where he just got to like do whatever the fuck he wanted and they just kept rolling because that day Shatner had to go to like his dad's funeral or something.
It was that was correct.
And I just love it's like just fucking Nimoy just gave it all and like he left it all out there. Sorry,
you totally Spock blocked me on that one. Okay. I mean, this one it's just me because it reminds me so much of Tom Underberger. It reminds me of my love for Tom Underberger. Just like when. For the World is Hollow and I Touch the Sky, when McCoy like is recovering and Spock has just learned of his ailment, and he just sort of like he just pauses and he like leans over him with concern, and it just seems so comical. But it's genuine. So yes, I like that. I just like the scene where it's just like him looking concerned into the camera, not saying anything.
No surprise. Your favorite way of displaying emotion is to basically not at all, and just to be like, and just like to be. So it's entirely unsaid, unspoken, invisible, and to the casual observer, hasn't really transpired at all.
It has that quiet dignity that I like about their friendships. Okay, Campbell, do yours.
Okay, so I mean, it's okay. So for the next one, I want to go Journey to Babel. Because I like the fact that what I mean, again, if you want to go like, I like the stoic dignity that one handles the fact that one's dad is like a total pill, and like the idea.
Pick the scene. Don't just tell us like.
I mean the whole thing. Okay, all right. What I mean is not any one scene, but the whole episode, but just the specific way that he deals with Sarek. and the way that like
You broke the
his
fucking
completely. Sorry, what?
You broke the goddamn rules.
Yeah, I agree. Choosing an
It was
entire.
supposed to be a scene? Okay,
Yeah,
all right,
choosing an
fine.
entire
Okay,
episode.
so
Holy
then
shit.
the initial scene where Kirk meets Sarek for the first time, and Sarek does not betray one iota that he is Spock's father, and
Yeah.
Spock doesn't offer that up either. And they basically just totally humiliate Kirk by not drawing attention to it. And like either of them was like, no, I didn't think it was important to mention that. Sorry, I don't know, whatever.
That is a weak selection. Because I mean,
Why is it weak?
it's weak because he's just standing there. You don't have to be Anthony Hopkins to do that fucking scene.
Brucey, do you have any idea what that standing there means?
No.
It's symptomatic of
No,
their
no, it
whole
counts, it counts.
relationship.
We said Spock, not Leonard Nimoy. So
And even then, it's a bad fucking call.
I thought it was a good.
all right, Ripley.
Spock.
All right, Ripley.
All right.
Go on.
Okay, the next one for me is Sitting on the Edge of Forever. When Spock
He
is down on the
knows.
planet, and he all of a sudden realizes that he hasn't been recording like the scenes of history going by, and he just goes, "I
Fuck,
am
I'm an
a
idiot."
fool." Yeah, and he says, "I am a fool." I love that. That's good because it's
That is a good scene. Yeah.
yeah, it shows that he's not infallible, but he's still robotic. So it's cool.
I like. I'm just pulling this one out of my ass, but is it him? Is it him or Bones at the very end of Elon of Troyes, where he's like
Strange
realizes.
selections, Campbell. You're selecting a lot of stuff from episodes that didn't go over well with us. But anyway,
Oh, whatever. I mean, but again, it's not about that, right? It's about usually
The
what
moment.
it brings out of the characters, right?
All right, tell us
And it's like when I can't even remember, but it's like if I'm remembering it in my head right, I don't know, we'll see. But it's like when they're a witness to Kirk basically having like been brainwashed by the fucking tears of the Elon of Troyes,
Yeah.
or the Elon, so to speak,
Yeah.
and so he's going to spend the rest of his life cursed to like be in love with them, and Spock just like is like standing going, he's like, that's fucked up. Well, what do you do, and it's like, and I think with like a bit of quiet admiration, but maybe I'm remembering that wrong.
Oh, you mean so? Because
Just in the moment where he realizes the full scope of what Kirk is going to have to deal with. Okay, and then it's ruined a little bit later when Bones like turns out he's not even chemically affected by that shit. He's just weird. He's just too much into his ship. So it's kind of diffused
Yeah,
momentarily.
but Campbell, that's not descriptive enough because I can't think of the specific scene you're talking about.
I'm sorry. All right.
Well, okay, fine. But anyway, so be it. I mean, because you already took one of mine, which was the Bane. I don't have any other ones.
It could be both of ours. That's
I've
fine.
like written down. So
So why do you like that scene? I mean,
which scene?
the scene from Devil in the Dark. I mean,
I like that scene, not because it shows this facet of like Spock or whatever, Campbell.
Emotions are lame.
I like it because it's so like memorable and so funny and so like like such reckless abandonment of like any like inhibitions when he acted that scene.
I mean, yeah, okay, that's valid. And it's like, and I guess I should have figured, but I'm always curious as to why you like the stuff you do, because sometimes it's kind of out of left field, at least for me.
Okay, good.
All right.
Right.
Final topic. Top 5 Kirk moments.
Wow.
All right, Campbell, you go do the first one. I'll do the next
Are
one.
you sure? Are you sure?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess because I don't have anything better right now, I guess I have to go with like, whatever you want to, the final, not the final scene, but the final scene on Earth, in City on the Edge of Forever when
Very good scene. Yeah, where he just says choked with emotion. Let's get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
And when
Like-
Edith Keeler dies, and
But
and-
there's a lot of scenes to choose from that one. There's that. There's also, of course, when he grabs McCoy and he just sort of like grimaces with the pain or whatever. That's very good.
and I like it because it's not just. This is what I like about it is it's juicy from like an intellectual point of view, because it's obviously on the one hand just purely emotional for him, but at the same time he knows, because he's been given the fucking talk explaining why. It's like he knows that it's in that perverse moment, it's the thing that has to be done, because for various reasons related to the plot, it's very important that Edith Keeler die.
Yeah.
And I don't want to. I mean, I'm very pro Edith Keeler, but
Yes.
as nice as she is as a person, It was proven by computer
All right. Well, thank you for handholding us.
It was-
that she has to die. I'm
It was
sorry.
proven
I'm
by
sorry. I like
computer.
talking.
that.
I just had to say Edith Keeler must die.
All right, fine. Okay, so for me, I guess like my favorite, I don't know exactly why, but it just sticks in my mind because of the energy that he gives it. Is when where no man has gone before, he's trying to convince the psychiatrist doctor that she has to like turn against Gary Mitchell, and he starts like describing. He's like, what's gonna happen next? He's like, it'll just be one jealous god, with absolute power kind of thing. And then he goes, "What's your prognosis, doctor?" Fuck, that is awesome. That is
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah.
that is like Willem Dafoe. It's like really energetic and like, it's good.
I like it also that it speaks to that weird, that thing that I'm sure we've all thought of. Like, what do we do when our best friend becomes an evil telekinetic god, and you have no choice but to strand him marooned on a planet or kill him with a large rock? And it's like,
the plot sounds so good when you retell it, Campbell.
I
love that episode. It's like, man, it's like when you say it, I'm like, Jesus Christ, were they that clever? We got to make a movie.
No, that's what I'm saying, right? It's so epic. It's so mega.
It's an awesome fucking story.
Yeah, I mean, it's like that's not exactly like
maroon your best friend on a planet and run like hell because he's become like Godzilla or like
Yeah. It's either that or like God hands you a sniper rifle and tells you to go back to Dallas, Texas, and shoot JFK in the head or something. Like I don't know.
Is that a reference to Red Dwarf?
No, I just something I think about.
Right, okay, fine.
From time to time.
Okay, so my next one would be.
Kirk moments, right.
So this is just because of like my my hero worship of Kirk from like the younger days, and it's not a particularly good scene, but I just like it because it's in court martial, and the whole episode is about how awesome Kirk is. But I like the fact for some reason it always gives me like emotional reassurance to see this scene where Kirk because like they're asking him like, how can the computer log say this, and you're saying that you did this. And he considers for a second, and he's like, is it possible when the time came that like I did this kind of thing? And he just thinks for a second, and then he's like, no, I know what I did. And I love that because it's like it's like so awesome. It's like it's a character trait that like everybody wants, everybody would want to have. Like if like that amount of self-reliance,
kind of
no
self-confidence.
doubt in your mind, like zero doubt, certainty. It's like awesome. It's like fuck, that is like a superhero power.
I don't know if I've ever aspired to that kind of certainty. I don't know. I've never known anything more than like 30%.
No, I totally would love to have that kind of power, just to be able to know, because like as soon as something goes wrong, you immediately second question yourself,
to
be able to be like, just like, no, it was absolutely not me, it was not user error, something's fucked up over here. It'd be great.
Yeah, like to trust yourself like that. It's awesome. Yeah. Anyway, so Campbell, what's your next one?
Oh, geez, I totally even forgot what we were talking about. Best Kirk moments.
Yeah.
I mean, shit. I guess I like where he's been able to affect the course of like whole planet's evolution.
Yeah.
But the list of that is like so long to pick one specific one. So shit.
You're getting close to one of my favorite scenes.
How do you know what I'm just struggling?
Because I know based on your premise what you're going to say. But go ahead.
Are we allowed to have two-way ties at this point? But I don't know. All right, I'll just pick one arbitrarily. I like the specific way in which he takes a proactive step and basically solves all of the planet's problems in a piece of the action.
Oh, okay, good, very
where,
good.
He just, it's just like he sees the chaos in front of him. He takes very few steps necessary to basically bring the entire planet to heel.
Remind me which one is that?
It's the Chicago gangs, and he basically executes a spur-of-the-moment peace between the three main factions.
But Campbell, like there's so many good scenes in that one too. You got to pick the scene.
Well, basically the lead up to the last scene where he just, once he finally gets the kid gloves taken off and has like a working phaser, a working communicator, and he's got Scotty on the blower, confused alcoholic Scotty. He was like, Captain, I'll do whatever you want.
You mean when he's like, fellas, the Federation can't get caught up in a penny ante operation like this.
Yeah, he recognizes that their only language is swagger, so he has to like out-swagger them, and he like phasers an entire block of people and he kills a man in Reno just to watch him die. Anyway, I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, so then my next one is from A Taste of Armageddon, which is what I thought Colin was going for, where he solves all the problems of the planet, where he says, the guy's like, we're savages, we've accepted it. And he goes, yes, we're savages with 1,000 years of brutality in our histories, but we're just, all we have to do is decide that we're not going to kill today. And I just like that speech and the disjointedness of the way he says, not kill today. So that one is the next one for me. Campbell, what's your next one?
Shit. All right, let's go for.
There's a lot to choose from.
I'm just hoping you guys will think I'm like frozen at this moment, like due to like a video era. But
I'm imagining you're having trouble reading your own
No,
handwriting.
it's okay if you haven't written anything down. We can just go with
no, I absolutely have not. I'm just like trying to think of something spur of the moment, because I totally dropped the ball. And instead of doing my homework, I was drinking. But
I dropped the ball too. Okay, so for me, it would be.
But I mean.
Oh yeah, it was.
Okay, what about this? It wasn't even really that much of a scene focused on Kirk, but I mean, I have to love how magnanimous he was in Space Seed after he'd basically won the day. Not him, I mean, mainly Spock.
Yeah.
But like, to me, it's like a huge. Now I remember what I was going to say before, but whatever, it's too late now. I was going to go trouble with tribbles, but yeah, I like in Space Seed where he's like legitimately. Like literally just had Khan try and kill him.
Yeah.
And he chooses to show them a kind of mercy that there's no obligation on him to show Khan.
Yeah.
I think. Even though I mean, there's some ironies attached to this, and it doesn't end up being that much of a mercy, but still, I like the fact that like he, just the contrast of the fact that what I assume would have been like. Anger, or at least, when someone tries to kill you, you can't help but take it personally.
Oh, fine, we can't.
And how he went from that to just like treating him with mercy and with compassion, basically.
Okay, fine. But the specific scene is where Khan says, "Have you read Milton?" And then he just gives like a. I understand. Although that is not the best scene of Kirk.
Someone dropping a literary reference.
No, that was not the best scene. The best scene is when he goes and he confronts Khan with the fact that they know who he is, and he goes, Captain, although your abilities intrigue me, you are quite honestly inferior, mentally, physically. And then he goes sexually, and then he goes, do you have any more questions? And he just goes, no, they've all been answered. That's good. It was
that is good.
Eyeball.
Good luck, and good and okay, and again, I really should have done not just more but any homework, but really I do like those moments where in a just a brief instance Kirk is able to communicate, usually with Spock, that all that unspoken stuff, not just immediately bring him up to speed. It's like, hey, all right, we're on the same page, let's go and beat up some guys, let's go, and like they're able to communicate all this just through like a look. But also the times where they're just like, mentally, communicating stuff, without using words, and just like nodding sort of wordlessly to each other.
I agree.
In a kind of stoic, sort of post-war kind of way that I imagine they did, just like how before the war they talk really fast. See, you see, it's like how culture changes.
How does it happen, Joe? How does a young woman mortgage her future for a bunch of scraggly-haired promises and greasy-haired ideals? Thought the war in East Asia was so unjust, the ends justified the means. Gee, Joe, you've never been the same since your son went crazy at Knox. Okay, so...
Wait, what was that?
That was from Simpsons.
It's at... I don't know why this occurred to me, but earlier today, while on the can, I realized how much I wanted to see Dragnet. Yeah, I like the nodding. I like the nodding at people genre, but I want to see Dragnet again.
You're right, it's the Dragnet thing. Okay, so... Okay, I'll just shoot through mine, the last three, because Campbell, you obviously haven't done any more. Okay, so one.
I got some now, but go on.
Fine, City on the Edge of Forever, where Spock unintentionally sees him give Edith Keeler a kiss goodnight at the end of their date, kind of thing, and then he goes, "Captain, I didn't mean to eavesdrop," and he goes, "No, of course you didn't," kind of thing. And they're very like understanding, and that's when he tells him that like Edith Keeler has to die. I like that scene, and then the next one is. In the one where they're fighting those guys with the crazy top hats and the boomerangs, Friday's Child. Friday's Child. You know those big fucking.
No, I know, but I just no, it's like I just trying to think of a way to describe them. Go on, sorry, continue.
Yeah. Anyway, so then like he's like Spock. Whatever happens, one of us. He's like Spock, the Klingon. Whatever happens, one of us must get him. And he goes, "Revenge, Captain." He's like, "Why not?"
Oh,
That's
why
pretty
not?
good.
I like
That's
that
a good
part.
line.
And then my last one in terms of like sheer like mega intensity, and there's like so many to choose from, but I really like this one. It really left an impression on me when I first watched it. But in Miri, when Kirk has been infected, and he's trying to explain to that young girl, like what's at stake.
I forget her name.
Miri. That's the name of the episode. Oh, sorry, I see. Very clever. Where did you go? Oh, there you are. But he like shakes her roughly, and it's like super intense kind of thing. And he's like, no, I'm not all right. None of us are all right.
That's good.
He's like, look at me, and he's like fucking melting down. That's really fucking good.
Of all the moments where Kirk is finally in the position where at the climax of the episode, he realizes whatever inherent advantage he has over the aliens and is like able to usually intellectually defeat them. I like instances where because that's always cool. I mean, I like that when he gets to the point where he's like, and now the poker game is over. Checkmate. No, that doesn't work. But it's like whatever. He makes the
magnanimous.
he makes the win intellectually, so to speak. But I love it in instances like Inspector the Gun, where after he makes the intellectual point of like proving that he's immune to their bullets because he can basically like outthink the bullet and like pretend it's not there or accept the reality that it's not real. Like after he's basically won the day, then he like decides to like for no reason like basically start beating up the Earp brothers, so to speak, just for because he wanted to. I don't know. It just felt good. I guess it felt good in that moment to like let it go. And I don't know. Even now, actually. I really would not have done that in his because I would have been worried that the alien was trying to judge me. It's like, oh, you punched him at the end. What was up with that, bro? And I'd be like, all right, you caught me. I like punching people, especially when they're totally not real. There's no consequences. Come on. And then at the end, I would be like, hey, weird alien, give me like 20 more minutes on this planet. But
he also thought that like Chekhov might be dead. So
I think at that point, all right, yes,
like artificial.
Yes, you're right. He did think Chekhov was dead, even though I think at that point he probably reasonably assured that after they got out of this, he would be magically alive somehow. But I can't.
Just on the way things have gone in the past for him.
I mean, it's happened. Yeah, I mean, they've been through that before. I mean, or at least they know not to officially count them out at the very first hint of someone being dead. Like remember when Bones died in Shore Leave, and that turned out to be just like a topical thing. You just rub that off.
I remember.
So it's like death isn't always permanent.
Yeah, and Scotty got brought back to life by the Nomad.
Yeah, fucking forgot about that. It's a good fucking point. Because you forget about the list of people that have died. So that's definitely Chekhov. I want to say definitely Bones, definitely Scotty, definitely Spock. Has Kirk died? I don't believe so. I mean, apart from obviously in the Nexus and then in real life. What, you know what I mean by real life, whatever. Anyway, I just forget. You forget about the full list of people who've not just died, but died and still had an impressive career, so to speak.
Yeah. So, PP, is that the last of the categories?
That is the last.
I kind of think so. I kind of think we got them. Yeah, okay. We got through them.
That's good. That's good.
Self-curated list, but what we haven't done is best. Do you want to pick top episode from each season?
Yes.
Or is that totally random?
Let's do that. Sure, yeah. It is pretty random, but let's go for it.
I've already got mine picked.
and in cases it'll be hard, right? Because it's like
go, Russi, go.
So,
first season.
City on the Edge of Forever. It's like, I hate to be obvious, but fuck
no, that's fine.
It's fantastic.
No, I agree. It sucks when you're part of, but it's the best episode.
Yeah. So then the next one, it would be. A lot of the really good episodes are actually in the first season, so it's. But I guess. I guess Doomsday Machine would be my number 2.
You mean your number 2 overall, or for
No,
for season 2.
For season 2.
season 2? Okay.
And then for the last one, you know, the last season, like a lot of like, you know, less like not very good episodes. The only 4 that I thought were good were All Our Yesterdays, Way to Eden, The Savage Curtain, and Spectre of the Gun. But definitely the one that I watch and rewatch the most and like the most is Spectre of the Gun. So I'd say Spectre of the Gun.
Yeah, and it definitely it's that kind of thing that I always want to have like a distinction, or at least a two-way tie.
Like, All Our Yesterdays is very good too. Like
yeah.
No, but Spectre of the Gun.
But it's because for me it's like the most entertaining episode. But you know, but the other thing that can severely weigh in the favor is whether or not it's like Star Trekky, and whether or not the episode is as Star Trekky as it could be.
Yeah,
But,
but I don't care about that metric as much as you do.
No, yeah, and that's great.
So Campbell, do you
So for season 1, it's totally tough. But you know what? I think I have to go for the Man Trap. That's my favorite episode. What? Come on, I like it. It's so simple. And it's like it's also a relatively high degree of Star Trekkiness. But I think it's an episode that takes a hard stab at like what is the core of Star Trek. You know.
And so you put that over like Where No Man Has Gone Before, Balance of Terror.
I like that a lot. Yeah, that was easily. It was like
all those.
Those were all tied for second place. You know, or it's like it was definitely close.
Okay.
I've already forgot. Okay, and you know, it's like there's a lot of good stuff in season 2, but there's nothing really that I think comes as high as Amok Time because it's just the fucking business, you know. It's the most. I mean, it's just the most serious. I feel
that didn't even make my top 5 for that season.
Even more than Balance of Terror, where that guy dies. Is Amok Time.
I liked A Private Little War a lot.
Oh, interesting.
Oh, okay. That one yeah, was not among my top picks for any of the seasons. But yeah, that one is I can understand.
Oh, and Balance of Terror, of course.
Yeah, Balance of Terror is fucking awesome. Yeah, like from season 2, like I love Brendan
season
Circus.
1, yeah, Balance of Terror season 1. Yeah, never mind.
Piece of the Action, Mirror.
By any other name, that's just okay. Fine, I know this is just going to descend into us listing great episodes, but I mean,
man, there's like a lot of.
But there's so many episodes that you feel like it's a crime not to mention them.
Tribbles, that's a second season episode, right?
Yeah, that's second season. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
And Tribbles is definitely fucking enjoyable as all fuck.
Yeah.
But it's weird. I've never gone out of my way to call it good before, but it's weird.
No, it is good. It's fun.
I mean, if you think it's good, it's good. I mean, you know. It's because everyone's and I can't really explain why this.
Like I do see the original series through this huge lens of being a kid, for sure, and for that reason, Tribbles is always like, oh yeah, it's a good episode.
It's
interesting.
Like the same way Spectre of the Gun. It is objectively not a good episode, I don't think. But
it's so Star Trek.
Yeah, it's what I think of.
It's weird because Spectre of the Gun I'm tied for my favorite on that 3rd season, but I think I want to go for maybe The World Is Hollow and I've Touched the Sky.
Oh, okay.
I don't know why.
Yeah.
That one is just a cool concept.
Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe just because it's cool, maybe because it's like. Well, it's like I like. It's weird. I like The World Is Hollow and I've Touched the Sky because it's weirdly hopeful. And I like that for the same reason for the kind of the opposite reason that I like, what was the other one that I mentioned? The fucking, I mean, Amok Time is pretty grim.
Actually,
we should
I love explain what these episodes are when we just throw out names.
Oh, shit.
No, fuck it. At this point, people don't know.
I know,
I mean,
but we just throw out a whole bunch of titles, and if people don't know what the episodes are, like it's the most thing ever, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe we're testing the faithful.
Yeah,
well, it's so. I mean, I like the
Tribbles
optimism
episode
of For the World
is
Is
with
Hollow.
Tribbles, guys. The Tribbles.
Yes,
one.
it's true. Yeah, that's the
one.
easy one to summarize. The World Is Hollow and I've Touched the Sky is where they find a civilization hidden in an asteroid and hurtling towards their doom, and they basically save the whole civilization. And Bones ends up falling in love with the beautiful woman, and they kind of make plans later to like maybe get together and bone. And I think I like that episode because it's so hopeful, and it's the exact opposite reason that I like Man Trap, because I love the fact that Man Trap, it was just the last of that creature alive on that planet, and that even though I think the creature, who is like sentient and intelligent, was in love with the dude whose name I forget. I want to say Crater.
Yeah.
Nancy Crater. Yeah, and her husband. I forget. And like I think the creature was legitimately in love with him, but it still had to murder for its sweet, sweet salt addiction. And I love the bitter sweetness of it dying at the end, the last of its kind, and like and how fucked up it looked. That's all I got.
All right, that's good. Yeah, all right. So
All right.
I'm ready for the wrap up.
Man, Star Trek.
That's it for the original series. We've watched every episode. We've commented on every episode in an audio and most
Mostly.
recent YouTube format. And I guess the question is, what do we do next? But we'll have to let you all know later because we haven't figured out the answer to that question.
No, there's no
yet.
consensus.
answers. So until next time with more Star Trek content, guaranteed.
Nice brand awareness. That's nice. All right, but gentlemen, a toast to Star Trek. No, that's too cheesy.
Earl
I'm
Grey
just gonna drink
tea.
some water. I'm thirsty. I'm gonna drink some water.
All
I'm
right.
sweating on speed.
And let's do our final.
All right, so
You're listening to The Red Hour, a Star Trek podcast with Rusi, often wrong, Kapadia.
And Colin Harcourt Fenton Mudd Campbell.